It's for me. Probably what I'm doing. Every day in the studio. Every day in the studio. Every day no fully shit. In the streets with the Yeezys on. In the streets with the hoodie up.
Play
No.
games. I'm not even gonna prank you guys. I just want to make a disclaimer. I'm coughing because of allergies, so I don't want anyone saying like, "Oh, he's got COVID and they're coughing on the mics." Literally during this time, I get allergies, so if I'm coughing. But I'm also very upset because
We looked really professional.
we look
minutes
really
ago.
professional, and it's so funny because our next level of guests, and you guys will definitely see in a moment. We wanted to let them know that we got some little money. We got a little money, but just like in Play No Games fashion, some bullshit always happens.
Yeah.
But it's the real life Hitch, aka Rob, on the mic yet again. And then we got who are you today?
I'm just cost today.
Okay,
Keep it simple.
Keep
it professional.
Yeah, keep it professional. You don't have names out here. All right. But before I introduce y'all to my lovely guest who's across from the table is I'm not gonna lie, y'all surprising me. I looked up on there and on the YouTube, we got 40 subscribers.
There you go.
Goddamn, we almost got 50.
I like
And
it. It's double.
It doubled, and I guess people are finding us. And let's just say at this point in time, I know you haven't hit the subscribe button because you know what? Because you're all lazy. And you know why I know you're all lazy? It's going to take one blue check person to be like, "Oh, Robert and Cost, they're good. Yeah. And then, I'm not going to lie, y'all going to start dick riding us. And we're going to accept it because we want that money.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure you're better people. So if you want to help and support the podcast, please follow us on Instagram at lookhere.fri. On Instagram, we also do social dating things. Follow us on there. Also, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Play No Games. Follow us there. We're doing dope things. And if you want to help the podcast and show, please, I'm not an OnlyFans girl, but donate to my Cash App, $ Hero Bow. Trust me, I'm worth every cent. Well, now I got a heavy hitter across the desk. He doesn't like compliments. I love it. I'm gonna say these amazing things. He's a educated, well-traveled. I would say I'm calling him like the Black Liam Neeson. Like he's like tanking. Like, well, I just know things about him that y'all don't know. Where it's kind of like he, I'm sorry, I'm gonna drop this, but like he's toured European countries by himself. And he said, by myself, one bullet, no gun. By himself.
Nice plug.
We got Brett on the show.
Let's go.
And then,
Oh, thank you.
so Brett, before we get into it, is there anything that, you want to talk about yourself? Or we'll just say this. Things that people should know about you before we go at you. Anything you want people to know about Brett?
Things people should know about Brett. Well, my full name, Brett Brown. I'm, North Carolina, born and raised in North Carolina. Wilmington, North Carolina.
Wilmington.
My hometown.
Shout out.
NC Stand Up.
You Tar Heel?
I don't really follow college sports.
Fair. They're terrible.
Or just colleges in general.
Yeah.
I didn't go to like a university. So
Same.
I never had that college bond that some people have. I have no school
alumni,
allegiance, no alumni. Yeah. I'm like NBA, NCAA. I'm NBA all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a designer, photographer. I like to call myself an artist because my interests are so all over the place when it comes to creation. And I live in Portland, Oregon. Living my dreams. Now I'm here.
There you go.
Okay, I like that. Dream living, and I guess I kind of just want to start things off with a bit of your resume, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong. And everyone knows this. I have a horrible enunciation problem. It's hereditary, and I think it was. Would you like to comment on that?
No.
You sure?
No, we can keep going.
You acting like an asshole over there.
I haven't heard that one.
Okay.
The hereditary.
Anywho, it's let's just talk about your passions. Got you interested in, correct me if I'm wrong, it's screen printing, digital,
3D.
3D. There we go.
3D.
See, I knew I was off.
3D.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I guess when I look across the table and things like that,
Mhm.
how does a person get into that? Like, where do you start?
Good question. So I guess I'll give a condensed, long answer of that, which is for me growing up, I was always an artist, like drawing, like just like pencils. Not like I'm never a painter. Didn't really have access to like a lot of like, like easels and all this paint and canvas. My family we didn't have money for all that, so we had like pencils, big number 2 mechanical pencils.
Yeah.
So that's basically all that I drew or all that I used to draw growing up. I was like an art kid through and through.
Oh.
Wasn't popular, didn't have many friends, awkward as hell, skinny, never played any sports. Yeah.
And zoom in on those muscles. That shirt needs some oxygen. You see that, Carl? Zoom in. Yeah, we can zoom in.
Oh my
The
god!
viewers,
Y'all are funny. Y'all are funny. Y'all are funny.
What did you draw as a kid then? Like, what were you passionate about?
Let me see. I'd say the biggest inspiration for me growing up was like Dragon Ball Z.
Whoa. Okay.
Oh, I gotta do
Yeah.
this one. I gotta do this one.
There you go.
Do you watch Dragon Ball Super?
I haven't watched like anime Dragon Ball in a minute. Like I kind of like left high school and then I just got tunnel vision and was like, I gotta work to make a living. So
Also, what you trying to say? People watch anime?
No. Anime. I got anime to thank for putting me where I am today.
Okay, I gotta ask. I don't care. I'm a fellow nerd. Out of Dragon Ball Z that you watch,
Mhm.
who was your favorite character? Besides, thank
Yeah.
you.
Vegeta.
Wait, are we all Vegeta's fans?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, by far. Vegeta.
Man, that's what I'm talking about.
Bro,
Yeah.
the Prince of all Saiyans.
That's what I'm talking about.
So you drew Vegeta's.
I drew a lot of Vegeta. Actually, so like I said, I do 3D stuff. So most of my career was in video games. I do footwear, 3D footwear design now. Work at Nike. Worked at Kohan. Did game development before that. So when I was working in games, like Dragon Ball Z is super animated. Everything is just drawn. But there's never really, outside of the video games, there hasn't really been like a lot of like digital 3D like versions of like the Dragon Ball Z characters. So anyway, there was like this little, there was like a website that I followed a lot when I was younger, and it had this thing of like take like your favorite cartoon character and like make them like real. So I just did this little like fun project. I took Vegeta and I did like a realistic 3D model like posed of Vegeta.
Okay.
Anyway, it's on my website, brettbrowndesign.com. It hasn't been updated in a long time. But anyway, you'll see I did like a realistic kind of version of Vegeta.
I'm at that. Oh, wait. I got to ask permission from Lars. Can I go and screenshot? Because I got in trouble last time I did something like that. Can I go and screenshot that and put this in the show?
Yeah. I mean, it's up there. I mean, yeah sure.
Yeah. We'll throw it in.
I know somebody attacked me. So using my
Really?
photos. So I was like,
I'll just give credit, art by Brett Brown, It's all good.
Okay.
I was like, hey, I need some controversy for the show. Yeah. But no, cool. And I guess, so I want to keep this going because I feel like when we've been talking to people like that and how we're trying to differentiate ourselves from podcasts is when we talk to someone who doesn't really have like a mainstream job. I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough about what is done with that. So I guess I know we're out of high school. We're in that period where now you're in college. So how does that look like when you're picking a career where like you have an idea, you're drawing? How does that college experience look like for you? Because I have like architect friends and I didn't see him until he graduated. So I don't know how he got a wife, but he was just working all the time.
Yeah. Well, I'd say like a lot of times when I meet people, they're like, "Oh, what do you do for I do 3D stuff?" Like, "Oh, so like you like make things in 3D." Like that's the best response you can give me. Yeah. So like there's not like I feel like 3D is a really specialized field. Like people all see 3D art, right?
Yeah.
People see special effects in movies. Video games are at the highest that they've ever been before. But nobody really knows. Like I think it's a small group of people that work on the other side that make the 3D stuff that we all love, love. So for me, like I said, growing up, I was really into drawing, and like my family situation wasn't the best. We didn't have a lot of money. So how I escaped my situation was drawing. And right around at the end of high school, like I was like, I knew I wanted to do art. I didn't know what I wanted to do with art. I just knew that I wanted to do something that was creative and I could use my talents. 3D came up because like I think it might have been like my junior year of high school, which the high school that I went to didn't have a lot of money. Again, I didn't do any extracurricular activities. I just lived in the art room. Anyway, there was a school like in Raleigh, about 2 hours away from where I was, small art school.
Yeah.
Called the Living Arts College, and they had a curriculum teaching like 3D animation. Small school, wasn't like I don't even know if it was technically accredited. Like you couldn't get a BA, you couldn't get a master's. The highest you could get was an associate's.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. So anyway, so a guy from that school came and did a presentation to my art class. It was like showing little demo reels like, hey, you could have a job at Pixar. You could have a job at this. And it was like a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Because up until that time, I had no exposure to like that side. And then literally like that one little presentation like set me on the path.
Okay.
And then ultimately I ended up going to that school for 2 years. Me and my brother moved to Raleigh together to go there. Mm-hmm. Again, it wasn't like a university, so we didn't have a dorm. So yeah. I had to work part-time at UPS. Mm-hmm. We shared a car. It was hella tough. Broke, beans and franks, having to choose between gas money and, or food. Like it was tough.
Yeah.
But, I went there for 2 years, studied 3D animation. And, like I said, the highest degree that they offered was an associate's. And then my 18-year-old self said, I don't want the associates. Give me the lowest common denominator that you have, which is a diploma in computer animation. Mm-hmm. And I said that to myself at the time because I knew it wasn't my degree that mattered. It was my work. Yeah. And I was like, if I take more classes, I'm going to have less time to put work into my portfolio. So I'm going to take less classes and I'm going to like force myself to put all my free time into just learning and growing. And that's exactly what I did. Mm-hmm. For 2 years. I didn't have a life.
Like, it's like, well, the guys who got, degrees over here and things like that, it's just so interesting to hear.
Yeah, I feel like that's something like teachers in high school, for example, don't talk about, where it's so much about your portfolio. Like, I went to school for business, and business is in a similar light, where it's like, you can get your degree, but you're hired off of, like, who you know and what your portfolio looks like. So that's, that you, like, discover that at that age, light years ahead.
Yeah. Nobody told me, like, hey, exactly. Brett, you're really good. I think if you just put in the work, you don't need that degree. Nobody told me that.
Yeah.
I just was like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And look at me now.
Look at you.
Well, you got the genetics from UPS. That's how you got them arms.
No, don't use the G word. Don't use the G word. Genetics? Genetics. That's a bad word.
How so?
Genetics?
Enlighten me.
Hard work.
Oh,
hard work.
I like how you did that.
Hard work, man.
Hey, all I gotta know is I appreciate that. Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. I agree with that so much. So I guess I want to kick to you in the sense of, so I just want to say this because I, agreeing with all you gentlemen, I strongly believe in when I was mentoring kids and things like that. Especially, I'm a big person, do what you love, right? Mm-hmm. And like you both were saying, especially costs, where it's kind of no one tells you, because everyone tells you have to get a degree.
Yeah.
And I feel like where you're passionate about, you will find money. And when people hear that, I feel like from the surface level, they think they're going to have millions of riches. Where I feel like the contentness of being content and having passion within your work, obviously that led you to top of your career, you doing this, you doing that. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of just like all you were saying, you never hear that. Yeah. And there's multiple pathways, and hopefully people who are listening really take this with so much listening with not your emotional ears, listen with your ears, being like, yo, if I find what I do what I love, all the money and contentness will come.
It'll follow you.
Will follow you.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, from all the other guests who listen and things like that. He's one of our most decorated guests. Outside, doing stuff, and it's kind of like, yo,
I appreciate
it.
Hell yeah.
If I'm like looking at resumes and not counting up clients, I'm like, hey, let me get a loan.
Oh my!
This podcast needs a booster, but it's just kind of like the higher up the ladder goes, you hear people talking in that way, and like that's like, so thank you,
thank you. So you had built your portfolio up.
Yep.
And then what was your first real job in the industry?
EA Games.
EA Games, really?
In the sport.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you speak on like what department you're part of?
Yeah, I was a 3D modeler.
Okay.
So it's funny how that worked out.
Okay.
Because again, the school that I went to, super small.
Yeah.
Not prestigious at all. I've never met somebody when I say the school I went to, they're like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Said no one ever.
Yeah.
So right when I graduated, which was 2007, EA Games had just opened up a small studio in North Carolina, Raleigh specifically.
Okay.
Small studio, like maybe 12 people. So I remember when I was in school, I remember vividly like being in class one time, and one of our instructors, he's talking to us about like jobs we want to do and everything. And he's like, y'all, like, don't get your, don't get, think long term, don't be, discouraged if your first job isn't like at a big company like EA, or, you have to kind of work, you have to work there.
Yeah.
And like, I remember hearing it, and in my mind, I'm like, stop. Maybe for them, maybe for everybody else. Like you just watch. I don't know why. I've always just had a really strong like sense of like self-belief and really kind of passion, vision, knowing what I want to do, knowing what I'm capable of, and putting myself in a position to have those opportunities. Anyway, so right when I graduated, EA had just opened up, and a friend of mine hit me up one day. He's like, hey man, there's this job fair. There's gonna be a lot of game companies. I think EA is gonna be there. Like, happy work right now. I'm like, oh man, thank you for hitting me up. So back then, there's no Instagram, so I had to put my portfolio on like a DVD. Oh, yeah. I mean like 20. I mean like 20 DVDs. So I walk in there in my backpack and everything. And like again, at that time, I'm super awkward. I'm shy, skinny, didn't want to talk to anybody. Yeah. And then I walk in, and there's all these game companies. Raleigh's like a little bit of a video game hub. Okay. There's all these game companies,
I didn't
like
know that,
Epic Games, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so I went there and I see all these small developers that I've never heard of, and I see EA, and like immediately my mind said, I don't care about any other of these companies. I'm going to work at EA. I may have handed out my demo to some other companies, but I just did it just to do it.
Yeah.
And like even when I talked to the EA booth, it was just like, hey, how you doing? Here's my name's Brett. I'll give you the thing. And then they hit me up like a couple of weeks later, had an interview. Trail went cold. They popped back up. They offered me a job as 3D artist. I was like, oh my gosh, what a chance to this. So I was hired as a 3D artist. I worked there for like 6 years. Worked on a variety of sports titles. This is like way old. So like a couple of Madden titles. I worked on Madden 2010. Some Nintendo DS games. No, 3DS games when the 3DS just came out.
Okay.
Some games for Nintendo Wii. Did a mobile game for iPhone.
Okay.
I did a lot of different stuff during that time there. It was fun.
Very cool. That's very cool.
You know what? I'm gonna have a nerd moment. I don't know if you can speak on this once again. Answer this.
Never got.
I just have to ask. Okay. Oh, you have something?
Oh, I was just gonna see it. Like, what did you?
Oh no, that's fine. Is it?
Yeah, I was just gonna see like when did that switch? Because you do work at Nike now. Mm-hmm. What led to you eventually transitioning to footwear and working 3D design footwear?
All right, I'll try not to ramble on this. There's other things we want to talk about. So I'll just say first, video games is a tough industry.
Yeah.
An
Yeah.
extremely tough industry. Like,
Really?
I hear,
yes.
I hear developers super overworked. Everyone's super overworked. Deadlines.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll give you just a
That's why
short.
2K sucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just give a short resume up to getting into footwear.
All right.
So I worked at EA for 6 years.
Mhm.
That ended because I was laid off. Our studio was closed.
Okay.
Went to
Yeah.
work one day, literally laid off in one morning. By 1 p.m. I was back home. That's very common in games. Studios close. Game companies work on a game for a number of years. The game doesn't sell. Now you got a team of 100 people, and then you're at least 2 years out from developing your next title. Company cuts their losses and say, "Hey, sorry guys, gotta let you go." Really common. So that happened. That led me getting a job at a startup game company in Miami. So moved to Miami right after the EA thing went down, and was there for 3 years. And that experience was, I could write a book about my experience working at that company, working at a startup, and just the pressure, like the pressure cooker that was this startup company. Like my first day was like a 12-hour day.
What?
And that kept up. Like it was common for me to work 12, 14-hour days, leave work at 2 a.m., back in the office at 10, work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Expectations were so high. Like, I'm like, man, I'm in Miami. I'm in this great city. I can't even enjoy it because this job is just like controlling my life. So about halfway through the time I was in Miami, which was like a year and a half, my girlfriend at the time, and this is really what sparked the move to footwear. One morning, like because I was like, I'm the type of person, like I always like to work on stuff outside of whatever I do at work. Like whatever I do at work, I go home, I'm always doing my own stuff. I like to diversify your portfolio, have a lot of different interests. Anyway,
Yeah.
But I was so burned out by this job that like I wasn't doing that. I was coming home and doing nothing. So anyway, one morning she's like, she was really into like social media, Instagram, since maybe like 20. Anyway, she was way more into social media than I was. And she's like, hey, so I saw this post from this guy who does like shoe design or something. And like the guy either got like hired at like Zara or he did a shoe and Zara did a collab with him. It was something like that. Anyway, she was like, hey, so like I saw this thing. I thought it was really cool. And like you have this, skill set in 3D. You like fashion. Like, have you ever thought about like designing shoes? And I was like, no, not really. He's like, oh, well, hey, I saw this thing. Maybe think about it.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks go by. I bring out my sketchbook. What I start doing? I start sketching shoes. Yeah. So it's like she just planted a seed and it just stuck.
Yeah. But you weren't really like a sneakerhead before this?
Okay. No. I like shoes, but
Yeah.
I was not a sneakerhead at all.
Yeah.
Like at all.
Yeah.
I start designing shoes just for fun, sketches. I do some sketches. I'm like, you know what? I kind of like it. Show some friends. They're like, yo, that's dope. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, you know what? I know 3D. Let me take my designs. I want to make them into a 3D model and like visualize it, what it would look like.
Yeah.
So I did a shoe. Again, show some friends. They're like, yo, that's dope, man. Yo, keep it going. So I did. I kept it going for like 10 months. I was like obsessed, I would say. Even though I was working 12-hour days, I would come home and then I'd work until like 3 a.m. just doing my own shoes. Again, just for fun. I didn't really have a goal. I wasn't trying to get a job. And I made an Instagram page and I started posting out my work. And my Instagram page didn't have any pictures of me. At the time, I had I think now the page is still up, maybe like 100 followers. At the time, I maybe had 50. I was posting my work, hashtagging it, whatever. And then one day, I get a DM from a guy who works at a company called Cole Haan.
Yes.
Which I didn't even know what Cole Haan was.
Yeah.
Literally. I get a DM. He's like, hey, love your work. Are you interested in job opportunities? I'm like, oh, well, I'm pretty good down here in Miami, but we can talk.
Yeah.
We have a phone call. Similar to the EA thing that I talked about earlier. Trail went cold for like 6 months. And when I told my girlfriend at the time, I was like, hey, I got the DM. this guy says he's like the director of 3D at Cole Haan. And she's like, Cole Haan? She's like, hey, that's a big deal. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
Damn.
Didn't know.
Didn't know.
Didn't even know.
Wow.
Anyway, trail went cold, and then like he pops back up like 6 months later.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, sorry, man. Things came up. If you're still interested, we'd love to talk. Long story short, I get hired at Cole Haan. I leave Miami. I move to New Hampshire. Take a 3D design job at Cole Haan.
All right.
And that was kind of my start into footwear.
Well, if you can help out us uncultured folks, I'm assuming this is a very high brand shoe, right?
You don't know what Cole Haan is, do you?
I do not.
Dress shoes.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure there's some listeners who are like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll take the book.
Yeah.
Cole
See-
Haan, yeah. Or you know it better, but Cole Haan is
Yeah.
he's gonna know it better.
Yeah.
They make men's dress shoes. And I'm assuming because Cole Haan got bought out by Nike, it's kind of a little bit how you got a foothold.
No, actually, because that was a
Oh.
long time ago.
Yeah. They're not even owned by Nike anymore.
No.
Yeah.
When I got hired, Nike had no relation to them.
They already sold them.
Oh yeah, many years before. But Cole Haan is like really expensive, really nice dress shoes. They do like a lot of like a mix of like dress, sneaker, like dress shoes that are light and feel like sneakers, but they look like a dress shoe.
They originally had they did the Lunar Lawn soles on the you know what a wingtip shoe is?
Yep.
Yeah. So wingtip with like a Lunar Lawn sole. Think of
Okay.
it that way.
Okay,
so
I'm
it's
following, I'm
like
following.
a running shoe bottom, but with a wing top.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like again, it's like a northeastern brand, so like I'd say like
Very American.
yeah, very
Very
American.
Yeah.
Very, from what I can tell, way more popular like New York, Boston,
Yeah.
Northeast, like much more than like
Doc Martens over here.
Yeah.
There you go.
This is why I love this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no,
Alright.
this is what you do. This you know. Hey, whatever I don't know, you know. I'm like, okay.
There you go.
But no, interesting. I guess I kind of want to just bring this piece up because just really capitalizing on when people hear the word like laid off and things like that, and hearing side projects and hobbies. I guess if you don't mind sharing, and you kind of already shared like how you got through that process, but I was wondering if you could make it more compact, make it more like this is like how I was feeling and this is what I did when you got laid off from EA and you were trying to figure out what to do. How did you feel? And was there anything that sparked in you like, no, I'm gonna get this next job? How did you take that before you got into your next role and things like that? Because that's the nutrients I want to make sure people get. Like, what was your mindset?
Oh man, it's funny. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and we were talking about how important it is to have an identity outside of whoever your employer is, no matter if it's your dream job or not.
Yeah.
How important it is to have something else that you enjoy to do.
Yeah.
When I lost my job at EA, thinking back now and how I felt at the time, what I realized was like my identity was based around me being a 3D artist at the biggest game company in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, who am I? Like when I meet people, I'm like, I'm ready. Like, oh, what do you do? Oh, what do you do? Oh, I work at this. Oh, I work at EA. But then now that's gone.
Yeah.
Like, it's scary.
Oh no!
Oh man, it's scary. It was. So I was out of work for 3-4 months. At the time, it was like everything in my life at that time. I just like nosedived. Like I lost my job. I was in a relationship at that time. After I lost my job, my girlfriend, who I thought had my back, kind of left me out to dry. Like we were at the end of our lease, and I was like, "Hey, I just lost my job, but I have money for a few months. Like let's figure this out." And then she's like, "Oh, I gotta look out for me. So I got my own apartment. You figure it out." It's basically what happened. Yeah. So I lost my job, broke up with my girlfriend. I ended up moving into one of my friends. He had an extra bedroom. So like everything just kind of just like flat.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I've never been in this position. My back is up against the wall. And I was like, I can't turn into the person who lets bad things happen and just like you feed into that negativity and it affects how you do. So what happened? Well, two things happened during that time. Most important thing was I really started working out. Before that, I was working out, but I really wasn't that serious about it. When that happened, I was like, man, you know what? I got to do something that I own to keep me positive, that I can see progress to keep myself moving forward. So I started working out hard every day. Like over those 3 months, like my friend that I was living with, like by the time I left, like I remember one time, like I wasn't really like keeping track of my progress like that.
Yeah.
And like one day he's like, yo, Brett. Like he's like, yo, have you looked in the mirror lately? I'm like, nah. He's like, yo, you shredded, man. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh. And then like I go to the gym the next day. I'm not really a selfie person, you know. And then I go to the gym the next day, I snap a couple selfies, and in the bathroom, flexing, you know, after a nice chest day, you see some of the striations and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, I took some pictures and I like dug up some pictures from like literally 5 months ago, and I look and I'm like, wow, Brad, total transformation.
Man's is thick, heavy
Total
on the pH.
transformation. Yeah. So like I'd say during that time, that was the biggest thing that kept me going. And then like I could ramble if I was talking about how the opportunity came up in Miami. But
Yeah.
during that time, like I'm applying for jobs, but like nobody was biting. Like I literally had one in-person interview, which was the job that I ultimately got in Miami, which is a startup game company. You know, so I had gotten like maybe 3 weeks after I lost my job at EA, I got an interview there. They flew me down. I was like, oh my gosh, this happened so fast. This is perfect. Fly back home. I'm like, oh man, cool. I'm not going to lose a gap in income. I got this job already. The interview went great. And then they say, oh, sorry, we just hired somebody. So can't bring you on just yet, but keep in touch in case something else pops back up in the future. So I'm like devastated. I'm like, okay, now. So that's when I really was like girlfriend, everything happened. And that's like really, just felt like really alone during all that time.
Well, I'm just going to say here first, and I just be honest with you, I just sensed it, to be honest with you. The reason why I really wanted to ask him about that, because everyone sees the finished product when they look at a person. They don't see like like it's a beginning and there's a reason why there's a middle and then there's an end. And as a mental health professional and things like that, obviously you have to have time to feel your feels and things like that. But I will always preach the world has this full charism about mental health, because if we really did, it would reflect in our legislation and reflect in our work and our employers, where you got a guy who's doing everything that he can to get employment, things like that.
Yeah.
And resume speaks, and he nobody sees that. They just see like, oh, you have to have a job, and you hop into the unemployment line, you do whatever you have to. In those situations, the reason why I'm glad that me and Koss aren't saying this, and somebody, obviously that didn't prep him for this, is speaking on this, because at the end of the day, you gotta. People hate this term. You gotta pick yourself up, because no one else is gonna have your back like you are until you find people like Boy Wonder, Koss, and things like that. But this is a testament that you can still take care of your mental health, working out. But also, I gotta put in 50 applications, and you gotta keep doing that. Yeah. And it's a together thing. It's like a yin and yang thing when it comes to that. And I, at least for us, I appreciate sharing that. And then, because that's such a like whole. I would say, just me personally, not from therapy, just how Robert lives his life holistically. I resonate a lot with your story, definitely a little differently. But I had to, find that niche when I was growing up in college and things like that, but very similar. And I'm also being mindful of time, because we're about to get a little ratchet in a moment. But before we do that, I also want to, before we go in our commercial, I definitely want to shine some light, because if we're speaking to the theme of what Brett's talking about, having that identity outside of work, hey, my guy, we be taking our photos. We gotta make sure that we talk about them photos.
Yeah.
So, what got you into just? I know I don't have enough time to give people the backstory and things like that, but one of the things that captivated me about you is like when we were talking, and this is the moment where I knew I had to have you on not me on my show, on our show, is you said when you were traveling and touring on your own, you're like, you know what, bump the club, I'm about to go get pictures, get my tripod, tour Europe at night and just take pictures. How did you fall in love with photography? I just gotta know that.
There's two sections, which was right when I got hired at Nike. From when I left Cole Haan to when I started, I had a month of nothing. I had a month of nothing to do, and I did that purposely because I was like, I want to take a time. Like, Nike is a great company. I want to enjoy me getting to this next step. So I took a month off. I traveled, went to a few places here in the States, went to New York, and then I was like, man, where haven't I been? It's like Europe. So like in 2 weeks later, I'm on a plane to Paris. And before I went, I was like, you know what? When is next time I'm going to be, like I had planned out the trip. I went to Paris, went to Basel, Switzerland, Florence, and then Rome. And I was like, when's next time I'm going to be in all these places? I got to do better than iPhone pictures. So I bought a DSLR, like the most entry level Nikon you can get. And I'm just taking pictures. I never studied photography. I never knew anything about a DSLR or nothing. I just knew that I wanted to take good pictures.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person that like, I learn really well, like on my own. And if I get into something, like I like dive deep, So when I'm taking all these pictures, I was just really enjoying it. So like what you mentioned, like when we first talked, like the last night I was in Rome, like every day I was just being a tourist. For like the 10 days I was ordering, I was just being a tourist. And the last night I was like, okay, man, you know what? I'm finally going to go out and enjoy a night. My flight was at like 10 a.m. that morning. So I went out at like 11 p.m. all dressed up. I'm like, man, I'm alone in Rome. Yo, I'm about to have some fun. I was out literally for an hour. And then I was like, man, you know what? I want to go back to Trevi Fountain and I want to see what it looks like at night. And I want to take pictures of the streets of Rome at night.
Yeah.
So I literally just aborted my whole plan. I went back to my Airbnb, got my camera, got my tripod. I just walked around the streets of Rome till like 4:30 a.m. just taking pictures. And it was like amazing.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like relatable to me when I was in Tokyo because sleep schedule messed up completely. Woke up at 4 a.m. Wasn't tired because I'd slept. So just went and took pictures in the streets at 4 a.m. as like the garbage men were doing garbage as they were resetting all the vending machines and all that stuff. So no, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. That's way better than a night out at the club.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then like, in the effort of time, like, so then that was like my entry into it. And then since that time, and that was summer 2018, since that time, anytime I traveled, I would, take a lot of city shots. And then COVID hit last year. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be walking around taking pictures of cities. So I was like, man, I've always wanted to do more portraits. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I got all this free time. I'm going to start teaching myself portrait photography. So like all of last year, the beginning, I say like the first 6 months of last year, all my free time was just like YouTube videos, lighting tutorials, et cetera, et cetera. Bought a couple of like, on camera flashes, start playing around with that, kind of kept that up. And then I just gradually started investing more and more into my photography. Then I start posting work and then people are like, yo, that's dope. And then people start messaging me to do paid work. And I'm like, oh, I didn't put it out here for hire, but okay. They're like, what's your rates? Let me get back to you, like Google photography rates.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. So you really good with these DMs. So can we just put your face on our like platform and you'd be like, look at this.
And we'll get the DMs.
Exactly. You get DMs on regular.
But the DMs I get, it's never pictures of me.
All right.
That's how good a man's work is.
Whatever pictures of me.
do what you got.
My even my Instagram page now, like I like every now and then I'll post a picture of myself just so people know that it's who's behind
Yeah.
the camera. But I mostly enjoy showing people what I see more so than like I never want my Instagram to be like me. I just that's just not me.
Fair.
Because me is more than what I look like. Me is what I do, what I put out, what I create, etc. Connecting with people,
There you go.
You know,
Yep.
all those different things. So basically, last summer I just taught myself portrait photography. Started doing a lot of shooting. People started hitting me up, and by this point, I was getting enough work like on the side that I decided to start an LLC.
Okay.
So, Brown Photography LLC started in January. So now in my apartment, I basically built out a home studio. I have like professional lights, soft boxes, backdrops. I've upgraded my camera twice.
Damn.
Yeah. So like any money that I've earned, I basically just immediately
Put back into the hobby.
put back into it.
Yeah.
A lot better equipment.
Awesome.
Well,
That's
we'll
awesome.
make sure to add that in, drop that in the description box and all that in between.
What's up, viewers? It's a commercial break. We're having fun. We're doing great. And actually, today's video sponsor is brought to you by Top Flight Cuts. Do you want a top cut? Doesn't matter. Go to Top Flight Cuts and ask for our boy Cameron. Right?
Hoot, because
Cameron Hoot, because he's a hoot. And tell him the Play No Games podcast sent you. You'll get something. He'll get something. We'll get something. It'll be great. But yeah, Top Flight Cuts. Ask for Cameron Hoot. Yeah.
Play No Games, Robert and Koss sent you. There we go. All right. Second commercial. Summer's almost here. No. Summer's almost over. And you're bored. What's our governor's name? Kate Brown. She about to shut us down. But you know where you can go before she shuts it down? Suavecito's Bar and Grill. If you're looking for a nice fusion of Latin and African music, when I mean African music, I mean black music. The top 140. You go to Suavecito's Bar and Grill. You'll have a grand old time. And tell them your boy Robert sent you. And the Play No Games podcast sent you. I'm talking about delectable food, delectable people, and whoever you're looking for at Suavecito's Bar and Grill. And just tell them the Play No Games podcast sent you. You know Kate Brown's going to be shutting us down, so make sure you get masked up and you get down there and you hop in line. You're going to have a good old time. Brett, let's just say this, man. Honestly, I appreciate your words because at the end of the day, this is how me and Koss try to be different from other, people's platforms, and we'll ask you the generic questions, and hopefully you might come back. Then we don't have to ask these. We'll just add you into the mix with different stuff. But like, people really don't hear some of the stuff about like grinding and grit, and then being able to do all the things you have to do while protecting your mental health and things like that. So I appreciate you sharing that about your story. But this part of our show, we talk about very frequently because we're hopeless romantics, and it's a war on the middle class men and women for regular relationships because it's unruly out there. So this is when we ask more dating and relationship related questions. And my lovely, lovely friend has a starter question for you. So what's going to happen is we're going to ask you some questions. Next time, if you want to come back on, there'll be a panel. There'll probably be more people, but since you're the only person, we're going to inundate you with like a couple questions. And then you're going to ask the real life Hitch any questions you would like to know, random, come up to you. And then we have a couple other scenario questions we'll ask. But to start the gauntlet, I would push a button. Wait, almost. You know why we can't push that button? Because y'all, wait a second, can't say that word. Ninjas haven't subscribed. And I would love to play Brent these funny sound effects and all these things, but I can't do that because y'all haven't subscribed and you haven't paid. $Hero Bob. Help us out so we can play all these cool sounds. Anywho, now as we enter the gauntlet, my friend.
The gauntlet. Don't scare the man.
It's not
This is a
bad.
question we ask everyone that comes on. It's a layup. Well, it depends on how you want to do it. It's
Y'all are really building up this first question.
This is great.
What's your definition of love, Brett?
That's the question?
Yeah. It can be deep. It cannot be deep.
What's the definition
Your
Oh,
definition.
My definition.
Because everyone's different.
Yeah. What is my definition of love? Ooh, man. I would say obviously there's love can be a wide net of love. There's love you have for friends, love you have for family, love you have for your girl, your wife, your husband, whoever your significant other is. So, but I think the one common thing, no matter what, in however you love and however you love them, I think it's just that your relationship with that person, I would imagine that you feel like it's like selfless. Like you're saying that like I am devoted enough to you, I care enough about you as a person in our relationship to sacrifice things that I love, things that I enjoy, things that, maybe even put myself in a tough spot, all to push you ahead. So I think it's really just about putting someone at the same level as you put yourself in your life, if not higher.
Yeah.
Excellent. I like that.
I like that question.
I like how everyone's been like they're similar foundations, but like so many differences in that.
Different takes.
Yeah. So, the reason why we kind of ask those questions before we get into like scenarios and things like that is because we want to give people context of how people view things rather than, all right, because now, you have like that background on love. And when we ask certain questions, the viewers kind of have an idea. But my question, a little bit more ratchet, you can not answer it or not, but for modern day men, all right, when do you think it's acceptable to start asking for increased intimacy beyond holding hands? Is it after date 2? Is it after date 3? What do you think modern men ask for the cookie?
Oh man. Well, so ask.
Ooh, okay.
Like ask, kind
With
of
consent.
well, yeah, but that's not where I was going. That's not where I was going though.
Yes.
Like ask like means that like I want you to give me something. That's very different than like a mutual, you want me, I want you. Mm-hmm. So if I'm dating and I feel like I have to ask, then I think that maybe we're not heading toward the same place. Mm-hmm. And not only that, like every person, every relationship is absolutely different, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you can meet somebody and like, yo, day one, y'all are like really connected. Boom. Holding hands, you like, wow, you clicked fast. Sometimes you can be 5 dates in and they're like, slow it down. Slow it down? What you mean? 5 dates in? What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's really a matter of actually paying attention to who the person you're with.
Ooh.
And seeing what their pace is. Okay. And just having, being open and honest. But asking, it's got to be mutual.
Yeah.
So, Mr. You're a step across regular love guy.
Okay, yeah, I'm here.
Same question. As a modern day man who is dating, when should a guy ask for the
ask?
I gotta keep it 100. I can't alter it.
No, I agree with Brett on this one. I think you've asked me this before in another episode.
Oh, okay.
And I said in similar light that like it's different for each relationship. It's different for each person. If you're vibing with that person, it could be after the second date, the third date. I don't know. You make the rules. I don't. Or it could take a while because maybe that's not where things are going. That's not how it's structured. The foundation is different. It's a 3-bedroom, not a 4-bedroom.
Oh wow, y'all some emotionally intelligent gentlemen up in here.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
we here to play no games, man.
All right. We all politically correct.
Okay, Robert. Let me ask you then, Mr. Casanova.
Hey, man. All right. I'll say this. You know, would you like to ask me the full question, or should I just go
When
into
do
it?
you ask for the cookie?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna answer this how I would answer this, and then I'm just gonna give y'all the question that the answer y'all want. Obviously, I agree with these gentlemen in a similar way. I feel like you have to go on the vibes, and just like both of you just said, it, you have to read the room. And I know, like, guys to this day, they're kind of like, it's so hard to like figure out, and there's a whole other rabbit hole we can go down. We're not gonna go down that rabbit hole and things like that, but um, obviously, if one thing leads to another, I always say the reason why I shape that question and to ask is to let us gentlemen know, us not us gentlemen, but just gentlemen in general, that we come from a day and age. At least I was coming from the '90s. I was watching The Wood, and if I liked a girl, I ran up and I touched her on the butt. Clearly, these times and days, no, that is a jail sentence waiting to happen. So the reason why I say ask is I feel like I have adapted in my game a suave of like asking is like, this something that you want, it's something and things like that, and setting the mood, but also being able to be like, all right, I'm not gonna be like, hey, can I take off your bra strap? I'm gonna be smooth with him, like, you okay with this? But I would just say that, and I was speaking for other men who talk to me about these things, but don't comment. Some men, would be like, you gotta try on the very first night, but that is the more ratchet thing that they would say jump on the opportunity. But there's a lot of caveats to it if you actually like this person or you deem this person's situationship. But moral of the story is context matters, gentlemen. But man, I'm not gonna lie, this turned out to be wholesome yet again. But this is okay.
It's kind of just the structure of our show. I feel like we're not really.
I gotta trick him.
I'm not the ratchet guy.
No, he's a wholesome guy.
I know.
I
gotta trick him.
Yeah.
So, actually, Kosh, you don't know this, but I'm gonna kind of take over on this part because me and him had an interaction, and you're gonna have lots to say about this.
Okay. All right.
So, Britt, the question that I want to ask you, and then we'll open it up. You can ask, us some questions. Is how do you feel that not just guys, but how do you feel like people should deal with being ghosted? Let's just say if you run into a person at a local bar, how do you think you should respond to a person that ghosted you? And they said that they were going to go out on a date with you, and you just run into them in public.
Let me take a breath before I answer this one.
Yeah.
First off, ghosting is the most selfish, disrespectful thing that somebody can do in starting to date. Whatever phase it is selfish. There's no excuse for it. People shouldn't do it. Period. And we live in an age where it's common. Like, be on a date with a girl, they might be telling me about a bad date. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, so what happened? Oh, I just ghosted him. And like, even though I don't know the dude, I got to be like, why'd you ghost him? Because like ghost to me is like a trigger word.
Oh.
And not like in a like angry, set me off type of way. It's just that I've dealt with it so much. And I respect people and their time and their energy too much. When I feel disrespected, because that's what ghosting is, I can't help but to be like, well, why'd you do that? How'd you feel after that? Is that a common thing for you? And especially in a place like Portland, because we all know Portland's small. And the chances of you running into somebody are extremely high. Like, I don't think Portland is the city if you're a ghoster. Or it can be if you ghost and you literally don't care at all about running into people. And that's just what you do. You don't care about your reputation, et cetera, et cetera. Portland's too small to be playing that game. But I'm a very, almost to a fault, direct person. So, for example, he mentioned we had a little interaction this weekend. Wow. this is how small Portland is.
Okay.
You know, so like I said, so we met not too long ago, and before we met, I had never seen you out, and now, just in the past week, I've seen you like 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah,
and like at places I didn't know you were going to be there. Like I go to like a friends get together. Oh, hey, that's you. Hanging out with my boy.
Yeah.
Hey, that's you. Boy had a Sunday party. Hey, that's you.
I'm following you.
I went out to a birthday party last night. Hey, see you tomorrow. Literally.
Wow. So how many? 3, 4
4.
times? 4
4
times?
I seen him 4 times.
Jesus.
They'd never seen each other before. Anyway, so Saturday, it was just kind of funny. So, I was out with one of my friends, and we were at this bar, and one of my friends made a comment about a girl that he saw walk in with some guy, and I was like, oh, you know what? She looks familiar. He's like, oh, how you know? I was like, she ghosted me. Ooh. I was like, what happened? I was like, well, this is like way last year, before COVID. Anyway, I was like, yeah, well, we matched on Hinge, and we were talking and talking. She said she wanted to meet. Supposed to set up a meet, and then she just disappeared.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's cold. Fast forward like a few months, I go to like went to a popular bar here, and she sees me and she comes up to me. She doesn't recognize me. She makes a comment about like my hair. She says something like, "Ooh, like your hair looks so nice. Like you should be some like R&B singer or something." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I'm like, "You don't recognize me, do you?" And I'm just like, "No." He's like, "Oh, well, we've met before." He's like, "Oh yeah, well, we matched on Hinge. You go to me." He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Here's my number. Text me." I text her. No answer.
Oof.
So that was last year, but I never forget her face. So then,
This is trademark before he pulled out a katana.
I don't forget a face.
I'm gonna tell my respective admins, but continue.
But
That's
so then, like I said, so this Saturday I'm out with my friend, and I recognize her. And I wasn't going to say anything to her. It was just like, I recognize her.
Yeah.
And then Robert walks in, and then Robert talks to said girl, and I'm like, well, look at that. That's Portland for you. What are the chances that he knows her? So I tell my boy, I'm like, yo, so because I'm supposed to be talking to you on a podcast, I'm like, I'm going to go up to him and just, because we're going to be talking about dating. I was like, whenever she leaves, I'm going to go up to him and be like, hey, see, this is what you're talking about. Like, see that girl? Like, let's talk about it.
Okay.
But then the moment I go up to him, I get like 2 words in, and then she walks up. And then, at that point, you gotta introduce yourself, right? And and I can't fake it like I don't know you.
Yeah, no.
And it's disrespectful if you fake it like you haven't met me.
Yeah.
So anyway, so like I meet, I'm like, hi, what's her name? I'm not gonna say her name. I'm like, hi. She's like, yeah, well, we've met before. I'm like, she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, you ghosted me like last year.
I'm sorry.
And then he's standing here, and I see him slowly like backtrack, like, what's going on? He slowly removes himself. Like I'm guessing in his mind, he's like, yo, it's about to go down.
Yo. All right. Yo, he's one. Let's just say this. I'm like meeting Brett, talking on the phone, meeting him in person. Like he's had to meet ladies, gentlemen, whoever's listening to this cause. He's had this calm demeanor, like like this, right? Yeah. So I already have this like idea of how he is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm talking to said girl, and he comes up and he's like, "Hey," I was like, "This is Brett," and then y'all remember that katana sword I was talking about? He pulled that out. He's like, "You remember me from Hinge?" I look at him. He's like, "You ghosted me." And then
I didn't say it like that. I didn't say it.
That's how it came off to me.
No. I was talking just like this. Yeah, we met before. You ghosted me. I'm really? Yeah, blah blah blah.
Y'all don't let this smooth talking R&B voice fool you. I want you to know I got blasted back. She looked at me. I looked at her. She looked at me like it was a setup, like I planned to trick her. And then I promise you, in the most respectfully, but also respectfully only, disrespectfully, moment only, he's going at her. He's like, well, you planned this date to do with me, trying to do this, but you just ghosted me. Yeah. And then she's just taking bullet. She's like, and he's like, yeah, no, it's okay. And then like things happen, and I was just like, I said, good God, SEAL Team 6 came in and just painted the town red. I said,
Wow.
Jesus. I said, what can man do against such reckless hate? And then he doesn't know this. So he leaves. And she's like, wow. She's like, how do you know this? I guess you ghosted him. And she's like, I just got a 6-year relationship. And I was like, Brent, was it happening? So, anywho, ghosting is not fun. I'm sorry, guys.
That's no excuse, though.
It's no excuse.
No.
I don't care. There's no
No.
excuse.
Oh my
There's no
God.
excuse.
I'm on Team Bread on this one.
Then
Then don't be on a dating app.
Don't. Yeah.
Don't put it in the universe that you want to date somebody.
Mhm.
If that's where you at, then respectfully take your time.
Yeah. And if you're not interested, be
Just
an
say
adult.
it. And no
Yeah.
hard feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
I really wish y'all was there because, oh man, it was an experience because I was like really tired, and that woke me up because I like he was spraying like I felt like it was Boys in the Hood. I caught I got shots, but
it was not like that. but I imagine, and I'm perfectly fine with this. I imagine it's not people aren't used to people, and I'm not even going to use the word confront. Confront, signifies like conflict. There wasn't any conflict, but I don't think people are used to people being direct about how they treat people. And again, I wasn't looking for anything from her, but if I'm going to introduce myself, I'm not going to play like I haven't met you before.
Yeah,
because the moment I say we've met, the first question would be, well, how? Well, then I got to say, well, and then I have to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, and she was like, oh, I'm sorry, and got out of a long relationship, and blah blah blah. And she's like, oh, well, I saw you when we came into the bar. You wouldn't be the type of guy that I would do that. I'm like, well, okay, you did,
Yeah.
But and then she's like, like text me, and I actually texted her. She actually responded.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a date set up or anything like that,
but
but that's already a step.
Yeah.
Right. Again, I have no objective with this girl.
Yeah.
I don't care if I go on a date with her.
Yeah.
So
but maybe she won't do it to the next guy.
See, that's my thing.
Wow.
Exactly. So
you hope.
So it's
you hope she learns something.
So I would never approach somebody out of the blue. Like in that situation, we just happened to be in the same space.
Your hand was forced.
Yeah, my hand was forced. I had to make a move.
Yeah.
All right, y'all are mafia.
You know, but if she was just there, I wouldn't go out of my way to make a thing. That wouldn't be cool. But I've dealt with a lot of that. It's not all the time that I meet somebody in person, just out in public. But and my friend jokes about me with this all the time. Like I call people out. And not in like a, again, confrontational, name calling, angry way, but I just can't let disrespect pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That doesn't even go for dating. That goes just for anybody. Ghosting me, that's disrespecting me. If you're one of my boys and you come out the mouth wrong, that's disrespect. I gotta check you. Again, I'm not trying to fight anybody. I'm not yelling at anybody, but I'm making it known that, hey, this thing that you did or said wasn't cool. I want to bring it to your attention. I'm not asking you for anything. I just want you to know that. And you take it however you want. Hopefully you'll think about it, and then maybe down the future you'll treat somebody else differently.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of me in a nutshell.
There you go. I like that.
Fighting the good fight.
Fighting the good fight.
He was fighting the good fight. He was
Changing
on the front lines.
Changing the culture.
Exactly. I would just also say too that just ghosting in general. Talking about ghosting is effective. Someone doesn't get it, and they keep texting you and things like that, and you already mapped it out. And I'm also speaking from another side where certain females are like, all right, dude, not going on a date and things like that. Or people who just don't get it. Sometimes I would say like the 10th percentile. I feel like ghosting it's like such a like last resort thing, but we use it in so much nuance when we're bored or we don't want to face or be accountable for stuff like that. But there's other times when it's effective. But the time we have left, I at least want to, throw this out, and I'm probably not gonna do the hits question. Probably just gonna do this one.
Go ahead.
Is I want to bring this to your attention. So Twitter. I don't have a Twitter, but I somehow get these quotes because everyone loves 140 characters and thinks someone's like Plato. I'm like, oh my gosh, relationships. So anyway, this comes from Chad Ochocinco Johnson.
Oh. Cinco versus science.
So how do we all feel about this? He says, fellas, if she likes you, she'll take the initiative. Stop falling for the apply for pressure spiel. So I'm gonna say it one more time. Fellas, if she likes you, she'll take the initiative. Stop falling for that apply that pressure spiel. So Kosh, you gave me the frown. I'm gonna translate black stuff.
I got it. I got
sure?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to
She'll
say.
take the initiative. I got it.
Yeah. Let's make sure.
Okay, yeah.
I love you. So, gentlemen, how do we all feel about this? Do we feel that this is a negative truth? And I'll just start off with this. I believe this is 1,000% right. Why I say this is 1,000% right is being back on dating apps now and things like that, actually having like a nugget of not caring what happens, things like that. Yo, if a chick wants you, she will come for you. And I'm gonna just give you like a small story. There was this beautiful, attractive woman. She has multiple Ks in her followers. And she was all over me one night, and I enjoyed it. Right now, it's not a thing. But at that point in time, she wanted me. Guys came up to her, prominent Portland guys.
Maserati owning guys, right?
Shut your mouth. Shut the There's only a few people with that. Let's just say that. And she made it very known. I'm talking to this guy. I want this guy. You can have my number. You have my Instagram. We'll link up. And this just, glass half empty, half full type thing. Where like in this day and age, when it comes to someone, I can't say most, having this mindset of feel like in this day and age and game, that is 100% right. I'm going to go to an old high school proverb, don't sweat her, let her. Because most of the times, if she wants you, she'll come for you. I think you just have to not set an environment, but you just have to work towards that and do your own stuff. And she'll eventually come to you if she wants that. So, gentlemen, how do y'all feel?
Oh, so the funny thing about that and like what I think about dating is like I was thinking about this the other day. It's like dating is one of the most vulnerable personal things that you do. It's like opening yourself up, getting to know somebody. It's a very vulnerable space. But like I can't think of many other things that people can do. Like if there's a job that you really want, right? Would you not apply? No, you wouldn't. If you had an interview and you go home and you thought the interview went well, you didn't hear anything for 2 weeks, wouldn't you follow up? You would. You would.
This boy's speaking facts right now.
Yeah.
You would. And if you didn't, what does that say? Well, you didn't want that job. There's jobs that I've applied for that I did because it's like, well, I need money. Like when I was saying out of work earlier, it's like, I don't really want this job, but maybe, I didn't put energy into it because I didn't want it. The same thing applies to dating, men, women, whoever you are, whoever you date. The same thing applies. If you want somebody, you will put in the effort. And if you don't,
Yeah.
then
That door.
That was actually.
okay.
Oh no, keep going.
Oh, well, I guess you have to edit it back. But yeah.
Yeah.
But somehow dating culture puts this expectation or lack of expectation that this one-sided thing of like women the guy's got to come to you or whatever. Or people purposely playing this game and saying, no, I want this person to come to me. Like, how does that, if you want that person, how does that work in your favor?
Yeah.
Like, you're choosing to play a game and you're hoping that this game works. So when it comes to what, you were saying, it's like my answer earlier when we were talking about love. It's like everything has to be mutual. Like, at this point in my life, I'm not a chaser. It doesn't mean I'm not going to put energy into somebody, but if I'm like, if I'm like 4 dates in and I realize that, man, every time I've seen this person, I've reached out to them, I'll take a step back and be like, I wonder if I didn't put energy, what would she do?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And there have been times where I've stopped. You know what happened? It stopped.
Free game.
Yep.
And then I walk away like, wow, she won. She won. You know?
Do you have anything on this, my man?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think you do have to, in a perfect world, yeah, of course, they come to you and whatnot. Well, Brett said about a job application, you got to apply yourself, you got to go out. But if there's a lot of girls on these, these Hinges and these Bumbles and these Tinders that are looking for, some free dinner, some free entertainment, some guy that's just going to compliment them because they're looking for attention, they're looking for compliments. So as a man out there, be careful in a way. Don't get used. I think a lot of guys let themselves get used like that. But I think you still got to go for it. You still got to go for it. You still got to aim for the stars.
Because this new space clearly gets busy at 9:00. I'll just at least say this before we conclude today. I don't want people to leave hopeless. We're just sharing these experiences because dating shouldn't be like that. Obviously, there's no love. What do you call it? All is fair in love is war. Things like
love
that.
And war.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. But at the same time, there has to be some layer of like transparency and like some rules, because at the end of the day, if men think, oh, I'm the prize, you're right, you the prize, guys. Women, oh, I'm the queen, I'm the prize. Yeah, you're right. There shouldn't be nothing wrong with showing effort from both sides. And that's whether who pays on the first date and things like that, where like everyone's trying to cut their losses and be like, all right, I don't want to lose nothing or anything in this exchange. That's dating. You're going to do something to get to know someone. So if you're going in there with this, like, well, if he or she doesn't do this, you're really losing out on great guys like Cassian and great guys like
Robert.
and it's not just a gender thing. It's just the overall thing. And I'm just glad just to have another guest, another guy, another person, another human who's like, whether it's win, lose, or draw, I'm trying to get to know a person. And that's ultimately why we play no games here. And I just want to just say I appreciate Brett for coming on.
Yes.
Appreciate him dealing with the technical difficulties at the beginning and the pauses. And before I say my ending piece, my boy, you got anything?
Yeah, just thanks for coming on. Super cool. You're exactly the type of person we try to like mold our culture and our podcast around. Someone just genuine and actually just wants to be a good person, direct. Yeah. So you're great for the show. Thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed this conversation. I wish we had more time to talk, man. There's so many things that I wanted to talk about, man. I could go on, man.
I got a panel that we're working on, and there's gonna be like, men, women, things like that. And I'll just prematurely just say this. I would love to have you on. I would love to have your perspective. If you want to come back on, would love that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just gotta shamelessly do this on camera because if I tragically pass, my guys, we had Usher. I'm sorry. I love him. Roast me, Brett wrote me. I look like Corey in the house. People tell me all the time.
Corey in the
house. Well, I'm just saying.
So, all right, I know we're always out of time, but like I was saying last night, like I got Usher a lot as a kid. Like as an adult now, everybody calls me Jason Derulo.
Ooh.
Everybody calls me that. I was back home in North Carolina 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
friends I hadn't seen in years. Like, yo, Jason Derulo. He brings out he brings out Jason Derulo's Instagram. I'm like, yo, you didn't tell me that you got a baby now. I'm like,
That's funny.
Dang.
happens all the time.
Well, I'm sorry I have this on record, but everyone, comment, subscribe, all that stuff in the description box below. All the Brett stuff, all Costa stuff, all of my stuff. And once again, we don't play no games. And we're gone.
Probably wondering if I think of you. Sorry, I'm for the bag right now. Yeah, I'm for the bag right now. Yeah, for the bag that I never had. Yeah, you probably mad right now. Yeah, I got a 2-piece now. Shit, I think they call them groupies now.